Well, welcome everyone. This is Brian Berchtold with Hubbub Health, and thank you so much for spending time with us. I wanted to share with you a few secrets in worksite wellness, and in particular, the importance of peer influence. Today, I'm really pleased to announce a special individual to share our time together, and that's going to be Nicole from Twin Star Credit Union. Today, we're going to spend about an hour. We'll spend a few times sharing with you some insights into our thought, and more importantly, some insights from Nicole's perspective. I wanted to share just a little bit about myself. On the right-hand side, this is my player card on Hubbub, and some of you have already connected or are friends with me. And today we're going to talk about not so much about Hubbub, but really some insights into how to heighten engagement in your wellness solution, and again, share with you stories and some insightful feedback from Nicole. And with that, I certainly am excited to invite Nicole to share and introduce herself. Nicole?
Good morning, everybody, and afternoon for some of you, I assume. As Brian said, I'm Nicole, and I'm the Director of Human Resources and Employee Development at Twin Star Credit Union. We are headquartered in Olympia, Washington, and we have about 360 employees, and we are spread out between 2 states and about 24 branches. And wellness has been supported at our organization for a number of years. In fact, we've had a well-being team in place for a number of years, but kind of hit that stagnation point where just weren't seeing any changes and needed to do something else. So today I'll be sharing a little bit with you about our journey.
Well, thanks, Nicole. And again, what I wanted to do is most of you are all on mute. I invite you to pose questions as we go through this journey on your right-hand side. Take advantage of the online access to pose questions. Again, we're going to carry on an engaging dialogue and share with you some insights into how to heighten employee engagement through peer influence. A lot of the content from this is taken from an orange paper that we've published. We're going to make that available to you. I also want to let you know that we're going to make available the PowerPoint presentation at the end of this. We'll also give access to the recorded version of this. Many of you have already written in and asked, are these things going to be available and can we share them with others? And most importantly, yes. And with that, let's go to what we thought we'd do is start out with a question here. And what we'd like to do is invite people to go ahead on the right-hand side. There is a polling option. We're going to open that up, and we encourage you as participants to take a moment and give some thought to these items. And so the question is, what is your greatest wellness quandary? It's interesting, Nicole and I had the opportunity to spend some time with HR professionals in South Florida a few weeks ago, and we posed this, and the questions that we posed were the same: getting leadership support, engaging employees with limited resources, demonstrating an ROI, or return on investment, on the program, not enough time to administer or manage the program, and then administering the program across multiple locations. And so I encourage you folks to go ahead and take a minute and vote on one of these 5 items that presents or has presented to you and your organization in the past the greatest quandary. And Nicole, it was interesting when we were there, I know you took time personally and professionally to give thought and answer this. What was it from your perspective at Twin Star?
Well, you know, the leadership support for us has always been there, but we have changed CEOs in the last couple of years, and we have a pretty hefty wellness budget, and you know, the question was posed by the new CEO, you know, really what are we getting our money's worth? You know, what are we getting in return for this investment? And so that kind of led our well-being team to really think about that and think what isn't working. We have fairly good claims experience, so it wasn't necessarily something that we could demonstrate to our senior management in claims and dollars, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But I think we do struggle with administering the program across multiple locations. We have in the past, obviously, and you know, we don't have somebody who is designated, an FTE designated to wellness. And so we have a variety of committed and passionate people who give some extra time out of their busy days to participate on our team. And I think that has been really important for us. So that's some of the main issues. I think we're going to talk a little bit more too later today about how to keep that engagement level up. And I think that is something that we are constantly battling, but are learning some strategies to deal with that.
That's great. Nicole, thanks for sharing. And just a reminder, I know we're counting votes feverishly. And Laura, do you want to go ahead and share with us our findings of this quick poll?
Yeah, so it looks like all the people we have on the call, about 90% of you voted, and 62% said engaging employees with limited resources is your biggest quandary. The next issue was the demonstration of ROI and the investment in a wellness program, and that's at 39%. And then we have administering the program across multiple locations, which is something I think Nicole has a lot of experience with. That's at 32 or 33% of you, and then not enough time and leadership support are both in at about 20%.
Well, great, Laura. Thanks for sharing, and thanks to all of you who took time to vote. As Laura shared with you, engaging employees with limited resources came in number one, and shortly behind that, there were a few, particularly around demonstrating ROI. I think what we're focused on today is being able to touch on a little bit of each of these quandaries. And with that, why don't we go ahead and we'll get started with a few specific agenda items. And so today what we wanted to do is share with you thought around 4 specific ideas. And this question, actually the first 2 are questions: can social networks actually impact healthy behaviors? Social media, is it a drain or gain on productivity? And then the thought, wellness doesn't end at 5 p.m. And the next topic that we wanted to spend time on is how to incorporate peer influence into your wellness program. And our thought is that each of these topics or conversations are going to lead to one another. And what I thought we'd do is take a time to do a checkup. Many of you on this call, and you've posed questions already, we see that. And thank you again for people that are posing questions that we'll cover throughout our time together today. But we thought we'd start with this basic thing, that we're kind of in this quandary together. And that is some of these basic stats. If there was an organization that has a wellness solution, we find that there's 85% of employers with 1,000 or more employees offer wellness solutions. Out of that, though, only 60% actually are aware that their company offers a wellness solution. So despite our best efforts of implementing a wellness solution in organizations, sometimes our employees just don't know they exist. And then an alarming statistic out of that is that of those that actually know we have a wellness solution for our organization, only 40% participate. And that's why if you look at some of the national and regional statistics, that 24% of our employees in an organization actually participate in the solution or the program itself. And so that poses a big quandary for all of us. And we look at this, we see here an employee population of those 24% that are going to participate. We know to the far right of this slide that generally most of us can admit that there's maybe 10 or 15% of our employee population that, regardless of how great our programs are, that they're not going to participate. So that leaves us with a number of employees that we're going to term are on the fence. And they're really waiting for influences or motivations to give them the nudge, give them the confidence, or give them the trust to participate in the solution. And that is the heart of our dialogue today of, how do we get these employees that are on the fence to actually want to sign up and participate and be a part of an ongoing wellness solution. And from that, we draw this concept of, can social networks actually impact maybe not only healthy behaviors, but provide some influence or impact for those people that are on the fence. And just taking a look at us as individuals, even before we join and lead our wellness solutions in our organization, we all have wellness goals, whether they're running a marathon or traveling or spending time with our family or walking the dog or trying to lose a few pounds. We know, though, that most of the time we try to do that, we fall off track or quit. And a lot of that is because we try to do it alone. But we know that when we have a social network around us, we're in a better position to achieve those outcomes. And so social influences actually are positive and negative. And the concept of social networking and the ability to connect with individuals is not always positive. And so, to review, here's some negative influences. And this is scientifically based out of Drs. Fowler and Christakis studies that said, if my friends are overweight or obese, there's a 57% likelihood that I am myself going to become overweight or obese. It's interesting, this study carries on even further and says if my best friend is overweight or obese, there's a 171% chance that I myself am going to become overweight or obese. And even this idea, and we've seen this, and thankfully we've been working as organizations and communities on our fight of smoking. But if I'm working with a coworker who smokes, there's a 3 times greater increase that I'm going to be smoking. And if I live with a smoker, there's a 6-fold increase that I'm actually going to be smoking. But there are positive influences, and some of us see that at work. If we're working with individuals and they're taking the stairs, it's likely that I'm going to take the stairs. In fact, here at HubHub Health, our headquarters were on the 3rd floor, and we made a team oath that we would never take the elevator. And so, collectively as a group, we're always huffing up and down the steps. And then even this idea, and specific to social networking, if we're in a social environment and people are posting or communicating is simply about eating fruits and vegetables or engaging in physical activity, there's a chance that we are going to be triggered, and that is going to be relevant to our behavior change. And we're going to talk about how potentially we can use social networking or social influence to actually improve health outcomes. And then this idea, and I know sometimes this is posed, is social media drain or gain on productivity? A lot of that comes from organizations saying, we are not going to allow social media. And I want Nicole in a few slides here to talk about that, because, social media is all around us. Whether it's Facebook or Twitter or the essence of Instagram, there's challenges that we as employers face. Do we actually allow our employees access to these social media? And all of them, are they actually relevant to what we're trying to achieve as health and wellness professionals? And I know, Cole, you went through at TwinStar some dialogue about and how to really manage social media at the work site.
Exactly, and obviously as a credit union, for obvious reasons, security reasons, we've had to be pretty stringent, and actually we've had to increase that. For a particular situation that occurred within the past year is we started receiving some member complaints regarding our call center staff, and that they could tell that they were distracted, that they were asking the same question that they'd previously asked. And so our contact center manager started reviewing calls, and it became, and we have access to view their screen at the same time, that there were a number of our staff who were shopping and on Facebook, and which is obviously quite distracting when you're trying to talk to somebody on the phone. So we, for a period of time, pulled organization-wide Facebook, and then we've also really restricted. We had a lot of dialogue at the senior level about internet usage, and unfortunately, we have a lot of departments and areas that need to have access to the internet for business-related purposes. So what we did is we had to talk with our staff about the impact, show them how that was impacting member service, and I think knowing as a reminder that their internet usage would be monitored, could be monitored. Not that I have all the time in the day to review people's internet usage, but when it became problematic, it's definitely something that we look at. So I think it led to a good conversation about why we don't want to have to restrict that usage, but we also at the same time needed to show that we needed them to be professionals and see that impact on member service. So I believe we've harnessed it appropriately at this point. Of course, you're always going to have those that push it to the limit a little bit, but at this point we have not restricted internet usage. And Facebook, though, is quite limited as to who has access to that.
What I like about that story, and I see some questions coming in related to that, is that it really prompted a dialogue both at management and senior management level, but also with our employees on the value that social media plays in the work site and how it should and could be used appropriately. I think as I flip here a slide, the fact that there are over 43,000 apps focused on weight loss or fitness, that's quite staggering. So from our perspective as health and wellness champions, there is relevant access of information available. This other concept here that 40% of consumers say that information found via social media affects they deal with their health. So I think where Nicole did with her organization is force a dialogue and have a productive session to get to the point that there is a use potentially for social media, as long as it's used relevantly. And I think that we're seeing here that there's plenty of interested parties that want to provide information and provide information of relevance to our employees and us as individuals. Here's some interesting statistics that support maybe some of Nicole and her organization's findings, but whether it's university studies or those done by professional consultants, I'll just share with you here. Employees who use social networking sites are 9% more productive than those that don't. 40% of workers believe social media technologies could actually foster teamwork. This is an interesting one too, where employees who use various social media were actually more productive. And then this study by the McKinsey Global Institute, productivity can actually increase by 20 to 25% in certain industries if they fully implemented social technologies. And so social technologies and social media is certainly a broad category. There are social tools that are becoming more prevalent in the human resource and wellness community. And obviously here at Hubbub, our platform is really, our engine is the power of social media. And so I want to continue to explore different ways that we could potentially harness the concept of social media. The next idea relevant to and building upon these thought that social media could play a part and could enhance and provide improved productivity is that thought that wellness actually doesn't end at 5 o'clock. Most of our corporate wellness programs are housed within the confines of our campus or our building. People go home, whether it's on a weekday or even on the weekend. The thought that sure would be great if we could carry the energy or the expense that we've outlaid on our program throughout one's lifestyle. And to that, we'd like to challenge and maybe think about a new approach. And whilst many of us and many of you have had experience in a top-down approach where it's more employer-directed, to encourage social and to harness the power of productive social energies, it's really then going to a more employee-driven wellness solution. That by which employees are finding things that are intrinsically driven, that they're finding things that they're directing not only their efforts, but potentially the efforts of their peers, and we're going to talk about that in a few slides here. And visually, if we look at this, that idea that wellness doesn't end at 5, because time to influence employees or be able to have them have access to the program, where if we really think about wellness as it being 24/7, that idea that we are going to provide thought or activities or opportunities of engagement beyond the gateway of our organization and our campus, that in the evening, those things that I'm doing with my wife and family, they're partaking in that potentially, or that what I'm doing with my colleagues or coworkers or friends or other family, extended family on the weekends could influence me. And of course, that is the power of social, where we're able to harness that in the after hours. In fact, here's an interesting statistic that really is quite positively alarming, that those organizations that allowed spouses or partners to participate saw a 2-fold increase in participation. And so what I'd like to devote, the rest of our dialogue today, and I see more questions coming in around, well, how actually do you harness that idea and allow friends or family into it? But Nicole, you have some thought on maybe how you've done that at TwinStar and maybe some examples?
You bet. So initially when we had put our wellness program into place, we would do biometric testing, and we would extend that to family members if they wanted to do that. But there really wasn't a whole lot. We didn't really feel like we could influence family members and what goes on at home. But I think, especially with Hubbub, we have received a lot of great feedback on the different challenges that are offered through Hubbub that really automatically bring in family into those challenges. And so I think, it's funny as you hear around the office people talking about the different challenges and what they did, and that they were able to, they had a family game night. That's a challenge. Or they, every night after work and on the weekends, they walk the dog as a family. They bring their kids. And so I think it just naturally, it seems natural with Hubbub, because there are challenges that just naturally incorporate family. And that's been helpful for us.
Well, and it's really interesting, too, when we started posing this opportunity on our platform to create a holistic approach to wellness, to embrace and harness the idea of family, what we open ourselves up to positively is this gateway of activities that we could be doing, outside of the work environment. And Nicole mentioned this one where people are actually walking the dog as a family after work, not just letting Fido out to do his or her business, but engaging the family in that activity and having that be part of the organized corporate wellness solution. What we found here is the challenge under the Nourish category of actually encouraging families to set aside one day a week where we're going to cook a meal together or plan it and do something crazy where we're going to turn the TV off and invite the children to the table and make a rule that not only the children but us as adults, we're going to turn our electronics off and we're going to leave them in the other room. And we get incredible feedback. In fact, this home cooking challenge is one of the most popular challenges on the platform. I know, Nicole, you've had some experience with just this basic game night idea that, encouraging people not necessarily to play a video game together, but pull out one of those things that were a board game.
Exactly, because as probably many of you, my kids are very iPad, they're screen focused, and so this just gave me an excuse to be involved in that and to say, no, this is something that I want to do, that I've been wanting to do, and having this challenge just kind of pushed me to do that with my family, and it has been so rewarding because with so little time, both my husband and I are full-time employees, we work, and then finding that time with kids, it just kind of forced us to make that choice.
It's interesting finding ways that things that are on our to-do list that, outside of work, I should get to that. I should find time as not only as a person, but as a professional to volunteer. And here's a challenge that I know a lot of organizations have actually used, not only to harness their corporate volunteerism, but to encourage employees just to go out and spend time with their kids at a soup kitchen or at the school or in other areas that we can help out community. And so Nicole and I were able to share with you examples of how organizations or individuals have been able to participate in activities outside of the regular work hours or shift hours. And here's some examples, not just from Nicole's organization, but these are actually examples from our users, our platform, various employees around the country, relevant to kind of those challenges that we shared with you. So here's Scooter Meyer at Hubbub. I think you saw we're at certain levels, and so she's engaged in the platform. My entire family has been eating at home and cooking healthy meals together. I did a 5K this year with my girls, and it inspired them to do another one. We had never participated in one before. Thanks for inspiring our family. Love what the challenges do for my family home cooking meals and game night. I think one of the other interesting ones, Nicole, you talked about how you're actually able to engage your husband in activities and with the kids. So here's an example of someone who actually got their husband running, and now they're buddies in the running system versus just kind of seeing each other as passengers in the night, if you will, when we're both hustling out to go to work. And then I like this one relevant to Nicole's example of board games. My grandson loves the ones one-on-one time with me, that shake, roll, shake, spin, draw. I just wish he didn't love Candyland so much. So again, examples of us at Hubbub or a wellness solution in general, providing not an excuse, but an opportunity to really spend time with family and have that be under the construct of a corporate wellness program. And so one of the other sections that we wanted to share with you is this idea of, well, how actually are we going to incorporate peer influence? And peer influence, of course, is either our coworkers, individuals that influence our employees. And one of the ways that we recommend or that we see a lot of organizations doing now is that idea of having a variety of challenges or activities for people to participate in. I think we've evolved from just the one trick pony, if you will, the one pedometer challenge that we're going to do a year. And a lot of us have started out that way. We're going to have one activity and see if it's able to gain legs. And as that progresses, the opportunity to engage, remember those people that are on the fence, they can often be engaged when we do offer a variety of activities, not just in the traditional areas. So of course at Hubbub, we've created these 5 holistic categories of move, nourish, balance, mingle, and rewind, meant to represent this holistic approach. And really, again, what it's meant to do is engage individuals who were on the fence, but engage individuals in a complete approach to life. That it's not just about being physically fit. We get to be physically fit, or we get to be a certain weight because we're getting the right sleep. That often happens in a balance challenge in the work-life category. We're getting the right amount of sleep because we're eating the right foods and we're volunteering or engaging with our community. And then we're rewinding a few bad habits, or we're finding ways that we're spending more time with family. I think one of the other things, and Nicole will certainly talk about this when she gives more examples of TwinStar, but the ability to make challenges or activities flexible. Maybe someone just wants to do that by themselves, and that's okay. I don't have to go with my entire floor walking after lunch. I can do it by myself and still get credit for that. I can do things in private so other people don't need to know about it, because many of those people that are on the fence and we're looking to increase our engagement strategy, they're going to initially start out doing things privately or with a code buddy. And we want to find ways that through our wellness solutions, we're encouraging those opportunities. In fact, I might just want to do it at home with my partner or spouse and involve no one in the work setting because I don't yet feel comfortable or confident. And we want to be able to be mindful of those areas by which people are finding the trust and a system to participate. And of course, affording employees the opportunity to communicate via the internet, as Nicole opened up, through various social applications, harnessing the power of enabling comments and conversations via social media. Maybe that is initially on Facebook or the corporate Facebook page where we're talking about healthy activities that we're doing. And then again, really finding a way that, our employees are in and out of work, they're traveling, but having a mobile ability allows employees to check in or participate after 5 and on the weekends. And if there was a mobile app, it certainly affords people that opportunity to download that as well. As we talk about how we're able to harness all that, it's the marriage of these two things, the social gaming, meaning social networking and creating games or the fun. And so, here, as we know inherently, people are social by nature, whether that's with my coworkers or with family or friends. And then inherently, we like to have fun. And so how do we do that? We certainly like to be recognized for our progress. We want to keep track of that progress. And occasionally, we like to receive incentives. And one of the ways that we certainly can do that is through our platform here at Hubbub. Here's an example of that. In 2 slides here, Nicole's going to give some examples of specifically how do they do that at TwinStar. But creating a gateway or a platform to be able to track all that, whether it's the various challenges of home cooking, having an activity stream where social posts are being communicated and people are encouraging their friends either through a comment or a fist bump or a pat on the back, and then recognized with our progress both as individuals and as a team through various badges and levels that we have. And here at Hubbub, many of you have seen our challenge platform or are using it already, but that ability that we're tracking progress and again communicating with our friends in an open, productive social medium. And so, how to get started is certainly we want to find a way to introduce the program. What we found, the idea of team challenges. A lot of individuals that are going to jump into that program that are on the fence maybe aren't going to do that because they don't yet feel comfortable as an individual to make a proclamation that they're going to focus on their weight or focus on some other habit that they're trying to improve. But I'll do something with the team. And maybe I'll do something with the team to beat another department or to beat another company or to beat the C-suite. So we're going to find a buddy and we're going to be connected. And then we're obviously finding ways that we can sustain that. And we found that to sustain that engagement and that energy, it's all about the power of social and the power about connecting individuals of relevance at the work site, but also friends and family that are outside the realm of our organization. They are going to help power our corporate wellness program. And with that, Nicole, I'm anxious for you to hop in and give a few examples of not only team challenges, but things you've done specifically to amp up your program at TwinStar.
You bet. So I know many of you, a question is engagement, and I think I spoke initially that has been and continues to be a challenge for us, even with an amazing product such as Hubbub, but and especially because we are so spread out that, a lot of people here at corporate, we don't have those connections with those people because they are in another state. We know names, we recognize voices that we talk to, but how do we keep people connected? And I think what many of you will find is there is a real competitive spirit amongst your employees, and that really came out loud and clear. And I can tell you that it really started with us, with our senior executive level. They are all over trying to beat one another and who can get the most badges, who's the highest level. And so that just naturally comes out, not through emails or things that we're putting out necessarily, but when people are participating on Hubbub, they can see who has got, you know, a badge, or who has been moved up a couple levels, and through fist bumps. So it's really connected our employees, and you'll see people that I regularly don't talk to will be giving me a fist bump when they see something that I've done, or it really has brought people together, you know, here at corporate, talking in the lunchroom. You know, and I think we did, as you'll see, we've done some sponsored, we did actually do a company team challenge with some other credit unions. And that was a lot of fun. We had some of the local credit unions, some from a little farther away from us, and we had employees that have friends or previously worked at other credit unions. And so there was a real team feeling about wanting to really beat this group. And I can tell you that I was championing that, because part of that initial challenge was going to be, the winner was going to be announced at our conference in Florida that Brian has referenced. And so, you know, then we're trying to get people on teams, as Brian alluded to, is the departments saying this is a water challenge, or we just recently did a squats challenge. You know, just take 5 minutes in your office or by your cubicle and see if you can squat, or do it on your lunch. See how long you can do, how many squats you can do, how long you can sit on the wall. So that has really encouraged people. Plus, there is the incentive of the winners getting, you know, award X, or they get the Amazon gift cards. And so you really have to be creative, and that's the important part about keeping that engagement up, is being creative and continuing to push those challenges, because, as you know, life happens, and so people kind of, if they join challenges on their own, they forget about them, or they kind of have completed challenges and they forget to start joining others. So we're constantly sending out, as a wellness team, different challenges and encouraging participation levels to increase.
That's great, Nicole. And I know one of our questions that have come in has been around the use of incentives. So when we get to the area that we want to pose or answer and address questions, let's make sure we have that top of the list. And just a reminder for everyone, go ahead and take time. We see a number of questions coming in on the right-hand side. Pose your questions accordingly, and we'll take time to answer those. As Nicole mentioned, they've been very successful in jumpstarting, and I know you covered a number of those things. On the right-hand side, Nicole, I think one of the important things that you brought up before on that lower pie chart is, you know, at Hubbub, there's incredible flexibility for employees to participate in challenges, the hundreds of challenges that are housed on the platform itself. But you at TwinStar, you guys, as we saw an example in just the previous few slides, launched challenges. But I think this statistic that, you know, out of those, you know, 2,655 challenges, only about 14% of those overall have been launched or initiated by you guys. So maybe you want to just comment on the power of how people find challenges other than just what you guys as a, quote, company are sponsoring.
Yeah, and you know, I think what we've done, and I'll talk a little more about that at a later time, but we've really been able to include more people that typically would not participate in some of our wellness activities, because for them, they think that it's physical activity, or maybe we have, you know, we have an employee who's in a wheelchair, or we have people that it's just physical activity is not something that they're able to do. And so this has really, we've had to be very mindful of that as we create challenges, because we don't want to exclude that population. And so it's all about really thinking about the different aspects of wellness and health, and how we can reach even those people that are just on that edge. They're not ready to commit to something, but okay, all you're asking me to do is to drink water. I can do that. I need to do that for myself. I just need that extra push. So it's really about targeting, making sure that you're creating challenges and really pushing all the different types of challenges that are out there that are not just physical.
Thanks so much, Nicole. You know, one of the things that that I found in our dialogue with a number of human resource professionals, and specifically those that have implemented Hubbub, is that they found as those solutions become permeated into the organization, not only are they eventually able to see some of that ROI, but what you were talking about is how mindful employees become regardless of what level of quote wellness score they are. One particular example by one of your colleagues I remember was that it became the social norm to frown upon people when they walk through the door after lunch to walk in with something from a junk food drive-through, or if they're walking around the office with their second or third Big Gulp that they've filled up at the convenience store down the way or down at the lobby office. And so just those small little behavior traits that we're seeing that you and your colleagues are sharing, I think that's the number one thing that says people are getting engaged and you're eventually on the path to seeing some financial benefit of the program.
Right. And I know as an HR professional, many of you may be saying, okay, I have to prove this. How do I show the ROI on this? And to be quite honest, I think at the executive level, they're looking for dollars. How is this helping our organization? Are our claims numbers going down? And of course, that is all important. And obviously, a goal is to reduce claims and your experience. But we've kind of taken a different approach. And yes, given we have fairly good claims experience, but that's going to change at some point. And it doesn't take much to really impact your claims. So, but what we've seen is that we have really, through this program, are increasing people's focus. Yes, they can take a break. There are those types of employees that need, okay, I need a mental break, so I'm going to go to MSN.com and just see what the news is. But this is becoming and replacing. It's funny. Some of our employees have said this is replacing our Facebook obsession. We're going on our phones and checking in and joining other challenges and seeing what other people are doing on our phones now rather than Facebook. So, one of our core values at our credit union is rewarding a work environment, and that is something that we take very, very seriously. And so that we're seeing the impact in how we're connecting employees over really far areas. We're really getting people to learn more about what health means, but I think it's really helping with morale, people's engagement. It's helping people to connect through just conversations about the challenges and how it's impacting their life.
Well, that's great, and you see a few more questions coming in around those comments. And just to review again, we're going to make available these slides. We're going to make available the recorded version of this, our time spent together, and of course the orange paper that's focused on our content here. We wanted to provide a summary. So those 5 essentials to a corporate wellness program. We see here the idea of a supportive community, a variety of events, employee-driven, self-directed, the recognition and technology, and really around that. This idea of a supportive community ties into the essence of, how do you become supportive? It's social, and to be really sticky on the supportive, it's a community that involves not just my coworkers, but peer influence outside of the office, and finding ways to bring family and friends into that equation. As Nicole talked about, the importance of a variety of activities, adhering to and focusing on people's interests and where they might be, and making it interesting enough so that we're getting those people that are on the fence, and finding things, people have limited time in their lives. How can we allow employees to focus on things that they really want to focus on, and maybe they're carving time out of different areas? We'll provide a common channel so that people can do things that they want to do, but do that in accordance to the corporate wellness program. And of course, finding the right ways to recognize people, whether, as Nicole said, getting fist bumps from employees that I don't know. And for those of you not familiar, a fist bump on Hubbub is like a like, or a pat on the back physically, and recognize them as levels and badges, and even the value of monetary, whether that be individually or team. And then harnessing and leveraging technology, just whether it's the basic internet and access to social media, making mobile and recognizing the importance of that, not just for people doing their jobs, so people can connect to the corporate wellness program. And the third icon on the right-hand side is device integration, where there are devices to track our activity, whether it be physical activity or the actual sleep we're getting, and some of those devices, as many of you on this call know, are tied into our program here at Hubhub, a Fitbit, a Jawbone, or a Withings device. And what we hope that we've done during our short time together is build some confidence in our thought that socializing is actually good for health. And there are different ways that we can socialize, and there are different ways that we can leverage the power of those social networks through our coworkers, our family and friends, so that we're harnessing the power of peer influence to improve healthy outcomes. And I know, Nicole, you had some final thoughts before we hop into questions. And just a reminder again, on the right-hand side, you can pose questions, and we're looking forward to addressing those. Nicole?
Yeah. So I think I spoke a little bit, touched on this a bit, but we really have expanded our employees' view of what wellness and what health means, overall health. It's so many different aspects of one's life. It's not just the physical. And you'll, as you saw in one of the previous slides about kind of the breakout of percentage of our employees, which different challenges they do, whether it be mingle, the different categories. You know, it's as simple as getting up and doing meditation in the morning, or are you giving that 10 minutes of undivided attention to your child rather than your smartphone or your laptop? So I think it's really, really encouraged employees to, and I've heard the dialogue that there's so much more. It is more of a holistic approach to wellness, because it isn't just physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, it's all of those different things. And that's what's just really fabulous about Hubhub, is it really encourages all of those different aspects of well-being.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much. And what I'd like to do is thank in advance those people who've written questions, but most of all, thank everyone for sharing time with us today. And Laura, you have a few questions.
Yes, I do. The first one goes back to what you mentioned earlier, Brian, about incentives. The question is, what type and frequency of incentives do you suggest? How do you give these out to your employees? Do you do anything other than what's available on the platform, things like that?
Great. Nicole, I mean, you've certainly had experience with incentives. Do you want to share what you guys have done at TwinStar specifically?
You bet. So employees once you log in and sign up for Hubhub, that you can do kind of a 360, where it's a little health questionnaire. It's very, very simple, very short. And so I believe it was about a $10 Amazon card or $5 Amazon card that we gave employees just for completing that. And then with different incentives, you can load where they can have Amazon gift cards, and that just continues to accumulate on their account until they want to spend it. So if they want to save it up and spend it on something large, or they just want to spend it as they get it, they have that option. So we've also done some drawings, and as I talked with other colleagues, they did a barbecue. They did kind of a barbecue. That would be the prize, or it depends what funds you have available. But you can be so creative in the different types of incentives you can provide. Obviously, it depends on your funds and what's been budgeted, and as to how often. But at the beginning of the budget cycle or the year, we really talk about the different challenges that we are going to launch as an organization, and then what is going to be the incentive amount. And so really budget throughout the year, and you just kind of need a plan how often. I mean, we don't necessarily do one every month. I think probably next year we're going to step it up a notch and provide more company sponsored or different incentives, because we'll have the opportunity to really budget for those. But you can be creative. But I love, it's as simple as the Amazon gift cards too that drive people, because who doesn't love Amazon and can't find something that meets their interests on Amazon?
That's great. And the thing I heard from that, and our certainly experience in talking to the human resource community, is it's a mixture of individual, group challenged incentives, but then also the idea of lottery, that I can win one of 3 Amazon gift cards and by completing this, and people like those as well. And so it's really the right mixture. Right. And so, Laura, other questions?
Yeah, the next one we have goes back to some of those challenges we were talking about earlier on. It says, I love the idea of engaging family in a corporate wellness program. Should we trust that the employee's word that they are actually having a game night or as a family or walking the dog is really what they're doing, or is there a way to validate that? So maybe Nicole, you could talk about a little bit of your company's approach to trusting the employees, and Brian, you could address how the platform helps to validate some of that information and the social aspect of that.
Sure. So this is on the honor system. I mean, there is the ability for people to post pictures of themselves walking the dog or doing things like that. But that is kind of one of those areas, and one of our core values is integrity, and so we just really push that we're all adults and that we have to trust that you're doing what you're saying you're doing, and we don't have the time nor the ability to monitor that and babysit people. So we just really push that this is on the honor system, and there's going to be those couple that are going to push the line, and really, well, this is what I consider as a vegetable, and it's really not, or, you can get real nitpicky, and I think you have to deal with those on a case-by-case basis as to whether somebody's being honest. But I know, I would assume most of you don't have the time to police it, and so it's really just pushing that, this is on an honor system, and we're doing this for our organization, and so we just have to trust that the people are being honest.
It's interesting also, I want to stress, as Nicole said, it's on the honor system, but it's in an open social setting. And so we found that sometimes organizations, you might have an individual that stretches the truth or isn't exactly truthful on a specific thing. But it's interesting, coworkers and others on the platform, we as professionals may not have time to police or look and monitor that, but they're looking at it all the time because, as you said, it becomes a little competitive. And so when someone says they did 10 flights and we know that they only did 2 because we are in a one-story building, then socially the platform itself helps to regulate some of those things. At Hubbub too, I shared with you on devices where we're actually physically tracking that, and that is woven and fed back into the activity stream. That's the way some companies have worked to authenticate proven data on specific activity challenges. So, Laura, what about a few other questions? I'm mindful that we have about 9 minutes to the top of the hour, and I want to make certain that we end on time. So let's have time for 1 or 2 more questions.
There's another good segue from that question that asks a little bit more about why our device is important, and then if you could share what devices we currently integrate with.
Sure, I'll take that first, Nicole, and then maybe you could share some of your experiences with that. I think the idea of why devices are important is around this concept of quantified self. We as individuals are looking to track and monitor our progress in certain aspects of life, and especially as the concept of health awareness, as Nicole mentioned, becomes more prevalent in organizations and community and in family. Individuals sometimes just want to invest upon themselves and in themselves and buy some of the device trackers on the market. And so, as I mentioned, that can be anywhere from the Nike Fuel Band to the Fitbit to the Jawbone or to the Withings, and those are the devices that we connect in with. So again, Fitbit, Jawbone, and Withings. We're getting ready to announce shortly some additional apps that track activity. And what's important about how we've integrated those app trackers is that I can be in a STEPS challenge, and once I've connected my particular device to Hubbub, that information is seamlessly driven into the platform, and it checks me in automatically into a STEPS challenge. I know there's a number of organizations that have actually created incentive campaigns around their employees achieving a certain level on Hubbub. And at that point, the organization actually invested in and bought a specific device for their employees as an incentive. So, Nicole, I'm not sure, I can't recall if you guys are integrating or have employees focused on devices as well.
Not really. I mean, a lot of our employees, I'd say the majority of them who have smartphones have it on their phones as well, but that's to the extent that we've really done anything.
Yeah. So that what they might be using, and some of you are familiar with the Moves app, and that in just a few weeks here, we are going to announce that that's live on Hubbub. So yet another device or app that your employees can tie into the Hubbub experience. Laura, how about time for one other question, and then we can wrap up?
there's a question about challenges and making it self-sustaining. The question is, has anyone tried a way of sustaining their program by rewarding employees for those challenges and creating them themselves, and how do they keep them appropriate?
So that's the idea, I would assume, of employees themselves creating challenges. And as many of you know, on Hubbub, the flexibility of the program is such that Hubbub is populating hundreds of challenges in those 5 categories. The employer or admin, someone like Nicole, and some of you on this call, would be creating challenges that are company-sponsored out to your employees. But also employees on Hubbub can create challenges themselves and publish them. They can promote them to the open environment. They can make them private or send them just to their friends. I think that's something that at Hubbub, when we created the platform a little over 3 years ago, we had this vision that we could trust a social environment to behave accordingly and create challenges. But quite frankly, we were a little bit nervous that if we gave the keys to the platform literally to the employees or people we didn't know, could we trust them? And being trusting individuals that we are at Hubbub, we tried it and it worked. Believe it or not, out of the hundreds of challenges in our time period that employees have actually created, none of them have been egregiously wrong or inappropriate. And again, we believe it goes back to the individuals that took time to create those challenges and post them. They were intrinsically driven and socially motivated to make an improvement in their life. And they were putting that out there as a sign that they needed a little boost and a nudge and a little help and an ongoing trigger of support. And so we took this as a gateway that we were really enabling people to further their health agenda in a social setting. And so we do whatever we can, and I know organizations sometimes actually have incentives for their employees to create and post a challenge. And oftentimes we found is that once someone actually, quote, raises their hand and creates a challenge and posts it, that they've made a further commitment to their health, their family, and thus their company. And then they become what we'll call forerunners or opinion leaders or even champions for other employees in that organization. Nicole, do you have a final thought on that? And then we'll wrap up the call.
No, I really don't have much else to add to that. I completely agree.
Well, again, thank you everyone for spending time with us at Hubbub Health and spending time with Nicole. Thank Nicole. And I just want to review that we will be making available the PowerPoint. We will have a link sent out with access to this recording, as well as, if you haven't already downloaded on our website, the orange paper that references the concept of how to harness peer influence to further enhance our corporate wellness programs. If any of you have direct questions or comments, please feel free. You have my contact details on the line at brian@hubbubhealth.com and my phone number posted there. We look forward to working with many of you, and thank you not only for your interest in Hubbub, but thank you for your interest in furthering the health initiative to your employee population, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you, everyone.